At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Welcome to News du Jour. You may be wondering, why am I, Annie Bowles, here hosting this podcast? I usually start by telling people I'm a political baby. You see, my parents met working on Capitol Hill. By the time I was 2, I had been in my first political commercial and even got lost crawling around the West Wing. Don't worry, Al Gore found me. My family then moved abroad when I was 9, and I attended an international school in Brussels with kids from all over the world. And it is this type of global perspective that I also bring to our show. I graduated from American University in DC after studying political science and art history, as well as interning on both sides of Capitol Hill. I even interned down the hall from where my parents met. I'm now pursuing a professional certificate in journalism at NYU in conjunction with Rolling Stone magazine. I guess I was always that friend in the group who cared deeply about not just what was going on politically, but also globally. I often kept my own friends informed through high school and into young adulthood, so I guess I've always done a version of this show. I'm genuinely passionate about following the news, and I'm here to break it down for you guys every weekday. We always strive to be a calmer space to get your news. Or, as one listener put it, like getting your news from a well-informed bestie. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, guys, so today you will see in our feed a bonus episode that is essentially the reading of an interview between me and a Georgetown University journalism student. She was tasked with interviewing an independent journalist, and she chose me. When I read through her questions, though, I realized these might be some questions that you guys were curious about as well. So I thought I would go ahead and answer the questions here in a bonus episode form. So like I said, that will be right in your feed today, so you can listen to that right after this, or maybe you've already listened to it. I answer things like how I got started with the show, what did I study in school, how do I select my stories to cover, etc. And it's a quick listen, but I hope you guys will enjoy it. And I would love your feedback on whether or not you guys like bonus episodes and what you'd like to hear more of. Do you want me interviewing other people? Do you guys like, the historical deep dives that we do, or breaking down more complex stories? Let me know what you want to hear, and I will make it happen. So after yesterday's extremely long episode about Alexei Navalny, for the most part, we have a much lighter day of news today, although it's all going to be about different global conflicts and some updates in all of those situations. Let's get into it. Content warning: this story involves wars on multiple fronts. So let's start with Rafah. Israel announced that they would not be trying to force Gazans into Egypt, but it does seem like Egypt may be preparing for their arrival anyway. According to The Guardian, satellite imagery shows that Egypt is erecting walls around a small piece of land with security towers right across from their side of the border. You see, Egypt does not want to take on the monumental task of accepting millions of Palestinians from Gaza for a variety of reasons. Mostly it's impractical. They also feel like if these people were to come into Egypt fully, they would assimilate into Egyptian culture, make friends, maybe fall in love and, start a family in Egypt and kind of put down roots and essentially never go home to Gaza. And this would be problematic for a number of reasons. It would just add a ton of people into Egyptian society. That may be impractical, but also, that could stand to eliminate the Palestinian culture. So, there's a lot of issues here. Additionally, Egypt obviously is worried about Hamas slipping in with these refugees and bringing the war across their border as well, which, let's be clear, nobody wants. So as an alternative, they are readying this space, I guess, to give civilians a refuge that is outside of Rafah, but not a permanent home either. And with all that said, I wanted to update you guys that the international courts have begun hearing arguments in the genocide case against Israel. In The Hague yesterday, Palestinian representatives were heard in the case asking the courts to declare Israeli occupation of their territories illegal and asking for a long sought after two-state solution. And the reason I'm laughing here is because that's been proposed many times, but shot down because essentially, the different leadership of Palestinian groups would not agree to not attack Israel. But more than 50 nation states have asked to speak on this issue, so there will be a long phase of arguments being heard. So 50 different nation states, that's a lot to go over. We will definitely be keeping you guys up to date on these proceedings. The U.S. has announced that it hit more Houthi targets. One strike hit an underwater drone. This is advanced technology, you guys, that has actually been really working for Ukraine in their war against Russia. But essentially, they are unmanned vessels that can either travel underwater or on the surface of the water to attack military ships. And this is the type of thing that was probably paid for or even created by Iran for the Houthis to use. The U.S. government has said that they do not believe that Iran has direct control over the Houthis, but that they are funding their efforts in the Red Sea. And then our final update for today, I wanted to let you guys know that Russia has just taken a city in Ukraine, and we may see more fall if nothing changes. Support for Ukraine, which was, once a steadfast situation, steadfast, commitment here in the U.S., is now definitely wavering. As we know, Trump is cozy with Putin, so he is unlikely to bolster Zelensky's efforts to keep Russia at bay. And without U.S. backing, Ukraine is really up a creek. And those cracks are now beginning to show. Ukraine has lost a symbolic city, Avdiivka, which is located in the eastern part of Ukraine. It's an area that has been under pressure since before the start of the war. According to NPR's Up First, Russia has been attacking Avdiivka for over 10 years. This is the first major city to fall in a while. Like I've been saying, it's been very gridlocked here. So things are not looking good for Ukraine, and Putin's ego is gathering strength as he did his Tucker Carlson rant. I'm not even going to call it an interview. It was a history lesson / rant / monologue. And then obviously everything we covered to do with Navalny yesterday. And then this, he's putting feathers in his cap by the day as he sees it. Putin even took to the Kremlin website to brag about this win and congratulate his troops. Is this the beginning of the end of the country of Ukraine? Is this the beginning of a bigger invasion of Europe? Only time will tell. And that for today is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "If you don't want the last domino to fall, don't let the first." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review on that platform or a shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us to be able to keep creating the news du jour and reach more people who need a calmer space to consume the news. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfree media, and that is also linked in our show notes. You can follow us on social media at newsdujour.podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. You can follow my personal account at It's Annie Bowles on both platforms as well. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from Oklahoma.